Assalamu alaikum. My name is Moaz Ahmed and in this video I will be talking about the lab number 7 of Microcontroller and Embedded Systems lab. So this lab is all about external and PC interrupts on Atmega and their implementation. The main objectives of this lab is to introduce ourselves to external interrupts and PC interrupts. What are they and what is the basic difference between them and how to use them and what features they provide us in our circuits. And another objective of this lab is to get ourselves familiar with using external interrupts to generate output. There are basically two types of interrupts. The first of type of device interrupts are called external interrupts, and these interrupts are basically called on a given status change like falling, rising, or change in the status generally. And these are represented by int, int, n, pin, n being 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. This is essentially an input interrupt and is great to use for application when you might need to react quickly to an outside source, such as we can use it with encoders or a bumper of your robot hitting the wall or to detect a blown fuse. Hardware-wise, there is not difference between external interrupts and inputs. If you look at the AVR point pinout diagram, you will see that index. You will see here that we have different interrupts like these pins right here. PC int 6, PC int 7, PC int 21, PC int 22. These are PC interrupts. And if we are talking about external interrupts are basically these two pins, PD2 and PD3, int 0 and int 1. So moving forward to our code, in this lab, our task was to design a circuit for, let me just go here. In, in this lab, our task was to write a C program to generate an interrupt through push button. If a certain button is pressed that is connected to one interrupt, it must send a signal to the LCD dis- so that LCD can display what interrupt is currently active. So in the code, we have defined, first of all, included the AVR file. And so first of all, we have included the AVR and then we have added the CPU as the frequency. And then we have included the AVR interrupt and delay. Then we have included the LCD file that we discussed in the previous labs. Then we have defined two different integers for storing our value while using interrupts. In the main function, first of all, we have declared the port B and C as output, and we have initialized the LCD. DDRD is equal to 0x00, which means port D is an input now, and zeroth and 0 and 1 bit of port D are now an input, and they are set to 1. EACRA is equal to ISC00 set to 1, which means int 0 is set to trigger any logic change. So if I go here in the tables so that we can confirm, so we can see here that EACRA has last 4 bits active as ISC11, ISC10, ISC01 and ISC00. So if I return to my code, we can see here that ISC00 is now 1, and later on we can see that ISC10 is again set. So we will return to the table to confirm the value. So we can see here that if ISC 10 and 00 are active, then it means that the falling edge of int x generates an interrupt request, which means the interrupt is will be only active when there is a fall in the value. Like if the value changes from 1 to 0, then the certain interrupt will be active. So mode is set and EIMSK pin is called to turn on the interrupt, and then EIMSK is again on to turn on the interrupt 1. So here we can see that its global set enable interrupt is called to turn on all the interrupts, and in the while loop, which is a forever loop, we have printed the LCD string waiting, so that waiting word is displayed on the LCD for conveying a message to the user that our circuit is ready to receive input from the push buttons. We have connected the interrupt 0 and interrupt 1 to push buttons, as you can see right here, that we have connected the interrupt 0 and interrupt 1 to respective interrupts IO 0 to 0, which is right here 21 and 20. So whenever int 0 will be active, int 0 is currently connected to 21, this button. Whenever this button will be pressed, button 0 will be displayed on the LCD, and if this button is pressed, button 1 will be displayed. So that's it from this video. I hope you learned something valuable, and till next time, Allah Hafiz.